Hey YouTube, I have returned. I've been away, been at the hospice with Kellen for a final visit, the good type of final where she is actually too old to go there anymore. It's a children's hospice and she's turned 19. So, given that one of the qualifications for going there was that you not be expected to make adulthood, she's done well. Um, Yes, I thought I'd plunge in and just give some general news because otherwise, what kind of a YouTuber am I? Um, I guess tiny bit of news is I'm in a nasty modern chair now rather than my rather fine chair over there, just because I spent too long sitting down typing in the summer and hurt my back. So I'm getting old. Right, what I'm going to do is, oh well, I'll just walk you quickly through the stuff I've read recently. I have just finished book 2 in Philip Chase's Edan series. Very good. Lots of dragons, lots of varied experience, but sort of classic fantasy, but nice and modern and clever. And I have moved into another book 2. It's unusual for me to go into book 2s, and this one is The Words of Kings and Prophets by Shauna Lawless. And I met Shauna recently at I went to what is it called? Fantasy Con. I think it's the British fantasy thing up in Birmingham. Spur of the moment decision. I thought I'd charge over there and see a few panels and whatnot because I am doing a panel, and I should have brought this up on my screen so I could show you. But I'm doing a panel at MCM Comic Con in London. I think it's late October. You can look it up if you're interested in coming along. But I'm doing a panel with uh, some people, some very nice people. Justin Lee Anderson is one of them, and Ed McDonald is another. Um, and then there's a lady called Esme, whose surname I can't remember, but I'm sure she's very interesting too. So come along and see all of us, and I will find the, I've retweeted it and whatnot. I'll put it on my social media. No, I think the only thing to do is now to look it up, isn't it? Um, let's have a look, see if I can find it quickly. And if I can't, then we will have to redo this video. Um, what would I be looking for? Profile, and then hunting down through all of this stuff. Quicker, quicker, quicker. I'm sure I've retweeted it quite recently. Um, there we are. Let's bring it up. So there, Esme. I'm going to apologise for murdering this surname. I can get the Pearson bit of it, and that one looks like uh, Jicky Emmy, and I believe she is debut author with a book coming out soon called, let's see, I remember this bit, called Principle of Moments. Right, let's get back to the main theme, which was, I was reading books, wasn't I? These two aren't ones I have read yet, but these arrived in the post recently. The Black Crescent and the 10th Gift. And those are both written by Jane Johnson, who also happens to be my editor, and is a very successful author in her own right as well. And the 10th Gift was a big hit about 15 years ago, and she's been publishing books under her own name ever since. And this is the most recent one, which is getting very good reviews. So I will be looking at those as well. Right, what else do we have up here? Let's see. We've got news from the Broken Binding. They are very close to pushing out the 10th anniversary King of Thorns, which they do a nice edition, and it's based in the UK, so you don't have to pay an arm and a leg for the postage if you are in the UK. And it looks like it's going to have the same sort of raven sprayed edges that the first one, Prince of Thorns, had. And they'll do 1,000 of those, and the Prince of Thorns ones have all sold out. So if you didn't get it, you the only option is to look on eBay and such places for a second-hand copy. And if you do, then you've probably got a good chance of getting a King of Thorns to match it. But initially, all these will be sold by just going to their mailing list and saying, "You bought a Prince of Thorns of us. Would you now like to have a matching King of Thorns?" And they look like very nice editions. I could go and get my Prince of Thorns off the shelf. Find it. Is it? Yes. So that's the Prince of Thorns. And as you can see in the promotional material, when you it's all signed and whatnot, and when you take the clothes off, it's all pretty underneath as well. So definitely look into that if you got the first one, or if you're super keen. What else? We are making progress on the SPFBO, so we have 3 finalists so far, and 7 more to find in the next 5 weeks, something like that. So we've got Masters of the Void by Wend Raven, and we are having an SPFBO panel at BristolCon, which is also next month, I think maybe the 21st of October. And Wend is planning to attend. So the idea was towards the end of that panel, I'm not going to be on it. It's going to be finalists and bloggers who've been involved in the SPFBO, but I'll be in the audience asking awkward questions, maybe if there's a lull. And the hope was to award some finalist coins. We may have an example of those. I say I may have an example. I should prepare better for these things. I can't spot it immediately. It's one of these things I'm always toying with. But anyway, they're fun things, and plan is to award to whatever finalists turn up who have not yet had a coin at the end of that panel. So Wend looks like she's coming from America, and I believe Trudy Skies, who won last year, was a finalist last year, is coming to collect theirs as well. And who knows, there may be some other people turning up. I shall bring a small clutch, and anyone who looks legitimate, I will give a coin to. So yes, Master of the Void by Wend Raven, the Wickwire Watch by Jacqueline Hagan, and then most recently, The Fall Is All There Is by CM Kaplan, who interestingly is a quad. So there. And then we've got the finalist board, which is very slowly filling up. The whole thing's going to be entirely populated, but Wickwire Watch was chosen by the Weatherax report. The Fall Is All There Is was Becky M's choice, and Master of the Void was from Covers with Cassidy. So yes, SPFBO cruising on, getting to one of the most exciting crescendos where we rapidly slay off the 100 or so other books that are still in the contest and produce 7 more finalists. And then comes 6 months of all of these blogs reading all of the books and scoring them all. And we will find our champion in due course next May, which will be shortly after the book that wouldn't burn, the sequel, The Lie That Broke the World, has come out, because it's coming out in April. And I thought I'd just briefly talk about the book that wouldn't burn, which is, as you can see, doing reasonably pretty well. And in America, it's had 5 printings of the hardback. And I don't think I've ever had more than 1 printing of the hardback in any country. And in the UK, it's on its 2nd printing. And the number of printings is really a mismatch between the expectations of the publisher about how many they were going to sell and the reality of how many people want to buy. So it doesn't necessarily mean that I've sold vast amounts. It just means that I've sold a lot more than the publisher thought I was going to sell, which is never bad. So yes, if you haven't read The Book That Wouldn't Burn, go for it. And if I click here, we can see that the lie that broke the world is now being retitled The Book That Broke the World, because I was persuaded by marketing to rename it. You don't want to upset marketing. And that's coming out in April. And currently we have Overdue, which is a short story, which seems to be getting some love, and that will keep you occupied maybe in the meantime. I have written a second short story called Returns, but I wasn't convinced, and I don't think my beta reader was convinced either, that it was, we both like it, but we weren't convinced it was where it needs to be in order to actually put it out into the world and ask people to spend good money on it. So I'll probably end up sitting on that until maybe I've got a body of short stories, and then I can sell them together, and that would be more reasonable. This one I thought was a good effort, and I'm not feeling guilty about people spending dollars on that one. Oh, what else? The last thing I was going to say, so this is just general news. The last thing I was going to say was I was going to draw attention to my most recent blog post, which addressed the issue of what was my most successful trilogy, because I keep on seeing people on social media saying it's the Book of the Ancestor. Oh, he didn't get popular till he wrote the Book of the Ancestor, and suddenly he's sold lots of books. And sometimes the implication is, oh, all that nasty grimdark that wouldn't sell, but as soon as he sort of lightened up and wrote something more palatable, then success came to him. And these views, like many views in the world, many distorted views in the world, come from the particular social media pools that we inhabit. So we tend to be informed by the people that we interact with, and so in politics and religion, you get these very distorted ideas because you're continually talking to the same people. And here it's the same thing. The Book of the Ancestor is not in remotely my best-selling trilogy. It came second. This is these columns. Their height represents the number of copies of that trilogy sold. So you can see the Broken Empire has essentially outsold all of my other books, but trilogies put together. The Book of the Ancestor is my second most successful trilogy, but it is a very long way behind the Broken Empire. But the Broken Empire, you might look at these and you say, "Oh no, that's terrible. This one deserved to sell more, or whatever." The Broken Empire has sold about, in the region of 1 million copies. So even when you look at a small lump like the Impossible Times here, that's still 150,000 books. So it's not like it was wholly ignored or anything. And obviously the library trilogy has only got one book in it that came out 6 months ago and is in 6 months ago, not even that, and is in hardback. So it would be unreasonable to expect it to be. It'd be nice if it was way up here. If it was the fourth wing, for example, it would shoot off the top, and we'd have to keep on scrolling down for many pages to reach the top of that column after only a few months. So this is, I mean, yes, things like the Impossible Time series I thought was going to. I really liked it. Obviously, I really like all the books I write, or I would just not publish them. But I think the Impossible Times trilogy is the most in my face example of where my tastes don't coincide with those of the general public, because I really liked it, and it has a fairly modest, the first book anyway, a fairly modest average score. And I think the 47 North, who published it, did a really fine job of pushing it out to lots of different people to try and find its market. And clearly it didn't really break big. Which is what it is. If I didn't have specific tastes, then I would just be some generic writer, and I might sell more, but it's probably less satisfying. But anyway, the main note here is the Broken Empire, dark as it is and controversial as it is, struck a chord and sold an awful lot of books, and still does. It's the Prince of Thorns paperback in the UK. It's just gone into its 31st printing, so there's still a demand for it. Anyway, that's me done. I was really just aware that I hadn't done a YouTube for a while, and I thought I would pop on and do one. I might, if I ever get a big enough audience, just do this thing which I've seen. It's a guy called Mark Massera who does Simply Read, Slowly Read. And he just basically turns his camera on and says, "Who's out there? And let's have a chat." And then just sort of has a discourse based on the comments and whatnot. That looked quite fun. So maybe I'll do that one day. But I'm not sure I really have enough followers to actually have a sufficient number of you watching at any one time. Anyway, I might do another page one critique in due course, but I'm busy writing at the moment. I've got a book deal for the trilogy that will come after the library trilogy, which is a sort of more grimdarky thing. And I'm writing that, the first book, and I've also was, before that book deal came through, writing a sci-fi based on emergent awareness within AI in the real world. And I was finding that hard going. I was sort of grinding it out and thinking this isn't, I'm not convinced by this. And my beta reader, Agnes, was saying this is wonderful. This is your best stuff. And so in the end, I sent what I had written to my agent, and he said, "Oh yes, this is good. You need to write more of this." Hopefully find some time to finish that one off and then see what happens to it. Right, I'm going to leave you. I've got things to do. I will catch you next time, and you can watch me hunt for the button that stops all of this.